right, man. Here we are.
Here we are. Good
Congratulations.
To be here. Thank you. You too. Well done.
Yeah, what are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about The Earth Below, the song we co-wrote together. This song just won a songwriting competition.
Which competition did we just win?
We just won SongDoor International.
Nice. One of the biggest, one of the 3 major song contests.
Yeah.
We won the category and then the 2023 grand prize.
Yep. All sorts of styles, right?
All
Rock,
genres.
pop, all genres.
And then we won the grand prize.
Yeah.
I did not see it coming.
No, and neither did I, since I submitted and forgot about it. It was a nice surprise.
That's a good surprise.
Open up the email, be like, holy beep.
We might be able to afford LaCroix now instead of Select Waters, you know?
Not Porsches yet.
So that was a cool day. We're in Topanga Canyon.
Yeah.
My first time in Topanga Canyon. You invited me up to a house that you were watching, an amazing house with sprawling views over the canyons. We have the river running through the canyon. You've got the stars overhead. Like, what a perfect backdrop to write a piece of music.
So beautiful, man. And I love sharing the canyon with you because since I met friends up there and started spending time up there, I felt like that canyon like embraced me every time I went up there. There was something special about it, and I wanted you to experience that with me.
I felt it right away.
Yeah.
And of course, the songwriting part of me walks in there, looks out like this panoramic view, and I'm like, we have a huge songwriting advantage right now. You know, you get this massive inspiration, which just leaked into the song right away. So it started off, we're sitting down. We didn't have really anything, if I remember correctly, we didn't have anything specific planned.
Right.
But it started with something that you had. Remind me what that was.
Oh my gosh, that's right. I forgot. I had this one little snippet. It was like, what, 3 chords? And it was 1 line.
Perfect number of chords for me.
Yeah. No more. I think we ended up with 4, but it's okay.
It modulates in the bridge.
That's
so
right.
There's a little musician move in there.
Totally. But why did that song come up? That's the mystery of songwriting, is that like you don't know what you're going to do and you're open and then something comes up and you follow it. And so I was like, I got this little thing. I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, there's always, you know, the hard like left turn in songwriting where you're heading in this direction and something hits you. And we hit that curve early, if I remember correctly. And I remember, I think you moved over to the piano.
Yeah.
I was on guitar. Originally, we tried to put it into 6/8 or something like that. I mean,
right.
And then we reeled it back in. But around the time where I think it started getting dialed, the sun was setting. And I remember that because I could feel like the influence of Topanga like seeping into the song and all the legendary artists and music that's been made there. Like, it was undeniable. And there's like no way that it's going to get into the song, if I remember correctly at that point.
Totally. Yeah. And so I showed you that little ditty I had. And it was from sometime in the last 3 years. It was simply the first chord, the second, the third, G, A minor, C, and it was just 1 line. And it was, and I'll be the earth below.
That's right.
It was just that, which is the hook.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
That's right. I remember that now because I'm looking out at the canyon and you sung that line and I'm thinking, like, you see sort of like this cohesion of nature, like the sky and the canyons and the river and like the connectedness of it all and like the embrace of it all with each other. Like, that was how the metaphor for me started developing, because it would almost be like the connection between like 2 soulmates, or maybe like the love a parent has for a child, something that deep and genuine. And I was getting that from the canyon. And if I remember, that's where the metaphor itself started.
Exactly. And for me, when I wrote that line originally the years prior, it was just something that came through. And that's kind of been my style. We write that way. We do set out to write a specific thing, but sometimes we just let ourselves flow. We just let something come out of our mouth. So when I wrote that line, I didn't know ultimately what that's going to be about. But I think as someone that feels very earthy and connected to the earth, I loved that sentiment. I'll be the earth below. And I already understood that it was like, I'll be the foundation. I'll be like the place upon which you rest.
I get that. So it brings me to a question. So I've seen your hard drive. There's like 9 million pre-started songs.
Yeah.
And you just went right to that one. It was the first thing you showed me. What do you think about that? How did that happen?
Dude.
Was it meant to happen?
I think that's wild, where we perceive consciousness as a very deliberate, controlled thing. Yet I believe in reality, consciousness is occurring like as this field, and things are wanting to link up and make connections. And so the fact that we are in this place, feeling it, acknowledging the magic of the canyon, that song came up.
Yeah, I remember that.
I don't know. How do you think it worked?
I agree. I don't think I recognized it until later. And then probably after the song was done, I had that thought, and I'm like, how is it that specific song? I was like, was this meant to kind of come out at this time? It definitely, I knew it was just a moment, right? It was just a thing that happened, right? But it was so spot on that I'm like, it had to have been some higher songwriting being, right?
Totally.
So we write this song. How did it feel to you, like, right after? Did you know that it was this good?
No, that's the weird thing. You say we write this song, and we had a different experience of it, which was interesting.
Let's talk about that after.
Yeah, where I'm like, we finish the song and there's this magic in the room. There's this sparkle where like we know that something just came through, but it hasn't yet landed like how deeply it hits. And I think part of that is because once you share it with people and you receive their response, you start building this validation or a sense of significance. And like just fresh out of the gate, I think we both knew something about this feels like classic.
It did. It kind of had like a Wild Horses vibe to me.
Yeah.
With that, like the melody, like the chorus melody doesn't lift a bunch, but you get that long like legato note, right? Like you could be the river or wild. You get that like that kind of like moment right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. And also, as an experienced songwriter, to sleep on it, right?
Right.
It's like, because when you're first starting for the first however many years or whatever, and you're like, you finish a song and you're like, just send the Grammy right over here, like, and then you realize, you wake up the next day, like, doesn't feel quite as good. So, to kind of like chill, right?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, when I woke up the next day, I was like, it's feeling pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is almost kind of not scary, but like kind of like, whoa, right?
Well, then it's like you've got to move into the refinement phase. And you got to kind of go line by line, note by note. Then you've got to go into the production, and so that's true. It's like, okay, we've done something well, but like we have still another mountain to climb, right?
Totally.
Remind me. So how did the production start? We produced most of it at my place.
Yeah. So what we usually do is we'll do guitar and vocal first, and kind of build that foundation, and then depending upon who we're going to have play on it, we'll send that around to them in an appropriate order, right? So that it builds progressively in like a sort of logical way. So who do we send it to first? Drums?
So you cut acoustic guitars.
Yeah.
And then, we sent it to Tommy Harden.
Yeah.
What a drummer. Alabama, like all the A-list Nashville stuff. Just a total, like, I love Tommy because I feel like he's like a rare combination of a song guy where he's going to play a part and a pocket guy.
Yes.
And I feel like he did that really nice on this one. Like the textures are great.
Totally.
The cymbals sounded so good. The overheads, I wish we turned them up a little more, but the cymbals sounded great. I mean, it's just so tasteful. He got it. He understood the vibe.
Right.
And then where did it go after that? I think it was your.
Then after that, we sent it to Nashville to Trevor Larkin and Ryan Shea Smith. So I met Ryan in Seattle. Amazing Hammond B3 player. He's toured with Toe the Wet Sprocket, Willie Nelson, all sorts of like big country artists. And Trevor plays with Alan Stone. So we thought of them because we knew that they could get that like soulful, earthy, rootsy, spacious vibe in their playing. Like not overplay, but guys that really know how to serve the song.
Yeah, if I remember, we had like some Dawes references, and we had
maybe Ryan Adams too.
A Ryan Adams reference off Ashes and Fire for the B3. That's right, I remember that, and he nailed it. And it's a kind of unusual B3 song, that reference. It was Ben Montench, Petty's guy, who did that song, I remember, and I didn't know if that was like a Benmont wizardry move, but he nailed it.
He nailed it
I
so
love
much.
the B3.
So that's such the magic of the process of like you send it to someone that you trust. Here's my baby, take care of it, and then you just kind of wait to see what they send back.
Exactly.
Right? And sometimes they send it back, rarely, because I think we got a good picker, don't we?
Yeah.
We pick them well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the key, right? Like, I always say that about, Bowie or Miles Davis, like one of their greatest qualities were great. They put together great bands.
Curating
they found
the group.
right people all the time.
So did you know? Have I ever asked you this? Did you know that? Right when you turn up 27, and you're heading to that turn to where this house was, that empty lot right there. Do you know what that empty lot is?
No.
I never told you.
No, I don't think so.
That empty lot was the place of this like famous venue that like the Doors and Jimi Hendrix and all these people played at in the 60s and 70s that burned down twice. And it's just an empty lot. And someone tried to do it a third time and all these obstacles came up and they just left it. But just to think like right where you turn up to where we were and wrote it is this legendary like location. You didn't know that?
No, I didn't, but you can feel it. You totally can. Like being in a place like that where all these like amazing artists and musicians have created some of the greatest art of the last 20th century. Like you can feel that. Like I've had moments like that in the studio. Like being in Nashville, I remember I was like recording at a studio called Quonset Hut, and I was like standing. I was playing a guitar part. I don't know. I felt this energy, and the engineer came out. He's like, just so you know, you're literally standing on the exact tile square that Patsy Cline sung Crazy. And I remember looking down, and it looks a little different. Like they're kind of like, but I had somehow just like found my way onto this tile square to play like crappy guitar,
Totally.
But you could feel it, right? I mean, in the canyon, like I did not know that, but you kind of the people that have come before you in this energy in the canyon, like and that's where I knew, like again, walking right in, I'm like, we have a songwriting advantage being here.
Totally.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the process because we had a different experience. Remember at the end of it, I'm like, well, that was easy. And you're like, what? Like, we had to work for that.
I felt like we worked for it a little bit and you felt like it flowed. How's that happen where two people feel something different like that?
It depends upon the points of resistance in the creative process.
Yeah.
I think
it was because I was, at least at the beginning, if I remember, I was trying to drag it a little bit in a direction that wasn't working. I tried to turn it into like a waltz. Didn't like that. You let me do my thing. You're like, he'll figure it out. But yeah, and then how did the, it's funny because as you're saying that, it made me think, how did the bridge come about with that modulation? There's like some sort of like Jerry Cantrell, like we were thinking some Alice in Chains thing or something.
Were we?
What? I remember that.
Isn't that interesting, the overlap of experiences, like different, but...
We're both there.
Yeah, we were at least. I think I remember the bridge as like I usually approach a bridge. Okay, I want the bridge to be similar to the rest of the song, but have one unique thing in it. What is that unique thing going to be? And so usually I'll search for what are the chords that we could use that we haven't yet.
Yeah.
And this idea of a modulation somehow just flowed out. I don't know if it was like the first, second, or third thing we tried.
Yeah. I love that bridge. It's so
right?
cool. It takes it to like a whole different space.
Like it lifts it into this like...
And all the BGVs, the background vocals are soaring there with the oohs and ahs.
Yeah.
That's right, we also didn't address the background singers. Because I remember at first I had wanted just a single female harmony, like two people talking to each other, and you're like, I feel like this bigger sort of thing.
Sort of like Crosby, Stills, Nash kind of thing.
Which was very cool, actually, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that come about again?
So that came about from hearing 3 female singer-songwriter friends in San Diego that hadn't sung together, but did this like little like pickup group, and they performed together, and hearing the 3 of them, I was like so struck just by the beauty of it and the blend that once we started thinking about background vocals, my mind was like get them in there.
So funny how that works with BGVs, like having not just, your harmonies and picking out your parts, but voices that go together, right? It's a tough thing with a harmony vocal because, as you know, there's rules to how you would sing a harmony, but it actually sometimes can draw attention if it's done right or wrong, depending on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And man, it was just so spot on because you cut that down in
San Diego.
At
my studio,
I remember hearing them and I was like, yeah, that is just so spot on.
So good.
They worked out so well together. Yeah, that was definitely a turn for me because I was before that hearing it differently,
Yeah.
So
totally.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so then tell me about the release process, about getting it out to the world.
Oh, my favorite part.
Well, you had played, you had played it out a couple of times. I remember
That's right.
QSC heard it,
That's right.
and who sponsors you,
Yeah.
and they wanted to get a live performance of it out before the record dropped, right?
Totally.
So tell me about that.
Yeah, that was fun. So they invited us up to this beautiful mountain location,
Yeah, it looked almost like
Topanga,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think it was Temecula. And they, we got together a full live band, including those singers, and performed it live while videoed, which was very cool that was the first time I think playing it with a band live.
Nice.
So the song found its way through playing it on the record, playing it out solo, then playing it with the band, all the way up to playing it together as we did at the Belly Up with a full band. So I think it was through breathing life into it, because sometimes you just do it and record it quick. We were pretty quick on that.
It was quick.
And you're like, is that it? Right? You don't know. But early on, it got reaffirmed by so many people hearing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that reminds me, it was an interesting thing about the production, because you want to fill in holes and you want to support, the song, but, my background comes from Nashville, 20 years ago, where, people were still doing guitar vocal and piano vocal demos, and commenting on the production was almost like a way to politely decline. You'd show them the song and they'd say, "Oh, the guitar riff's cool." The production was a second thought, and the song goes first. And then the world's changed now, and now production is so intertwined with songwriting, and you kind of have to be able to do both. But this was reminding me of a song, just a songwriter's song, right? A pure song that could be demoed easily on a guitar vocal or even a piano vocal, and you would hear the message. And so moving forward into the production, I remember that being a thing, because you wanted to fill in gaps, but this was not the type of song where I wanted someone to be cool guitar solo, or,
right.
And so that was a challenge during the production. And so I'm sure as you are now taking this out with a band, you probably re-experienced that, right? What are we doing in terms of what our live vibes going to be, which is not the studio?
Totally.
How'd that come about?
I think what you're referring to is intentional space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Letting it breathe, right?
Letting it breathe. And so as we produced it, I remember this sort of juncture of, we want it to be classic, we want it to be modern, but we don't want it to be pop modern. It's not what it's asking to be. And I think we found that sweet spot where it was clean and clear, but it was also spacious and warm. And it takes some restraint, to be a lick there, a lick here, a riff there, but just actually leave it
That's
open.
at the top of the producer pyramid. It's play an instrument, learn to arrange, engineer, produce, blah, blah. At the very top is restraint.
Yes.
It's
Totally.
Don't put that in. That
Yeah.
pad is not needed or whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is tough. Yeah, you're good at that. You're really good at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so then you released the song. What was the reception?
Amazing. That part always blows me away. It's I think the hardest part for an artist is to see themselves. And we really have to see and experience ourselves through the reflection of other people. Because you could be this song's so great. And people are meh. And then you have a song where you're just made this in 5 minutes. People are oh my God.
Is that hard for you if you pour your heart into something and you're just feeling really good and maybe people don't get it or something like that, right?
I think at this point I've cultivated a healthy sort of distance and just balance with that, where I let myself recognize how much I love the song I wrote, but not get too crazy about it, and let people reflect back to me. And so the first time I played it out was actually at a writer's round in San Diego, and everyone afterwards was oh my God, I feel like I know that song, I've heard it before, but you wrote that? What? And so getting that reception was the permission I wanted, not needed, but wanted, to be yeah, we did it.
That's a good compliment. You get to know that after doing enough. When someone feels comfortable, it's the type of person who could walk into a party and make you feel like you've known them for years, right?
Totally.
It's the musical equivalent, which is very cool. And especially if you have a message that you're trying to get through, and especially if it's got a lot of metaphor and things like that, it's very embracing, right?
Totally.
So that's cool that you felt that, right?
Yeah. So did we write this song or did it write itself?
Yeah, the age-old question. That's when people come to songwriting seminars. Obviously, you do a lot of education and stuff for young songwriters, where they want to know those sort of things, and it's always like, when Neil Young and Lennon keep saying, "Oh, the song came to me in a dream," like, all I got to do is go to sleep and get songs.
Right.
Not totally.
Not exactly. Yeah.
But yes, it did have that feeling, right, of where you feel like, and again, that's like almost, with me asking you, like of all these, unfinished ideas, like you went right to that one, right? So you start thinking like there's got to be some higher songwriting thing going on there, right?
Some songwriting genius at play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then when did you find out? Because you found out before me about the award.
Yeah, I think it was just like a week ago or so. I opened up my email, and this is actually a songwriting competition that I've won the grand prize for before. So,
Which is insane. I've never heard of someone winning. There's 3 big ones. This is one of the major contests, SongDoor.
Yeah.
And actually, the email that I got, I don't think I told you this. Her email said, "Never in a million, billion, trillion years did I ever think this would be won twice by the same person." Yeah.
I mean, I think I hear that and I recognize that and I recognize the significance of it, but there's a part of me that is like, I don't know what to do with that. Like, that's cool.
Because they really don't want to give it to you. They're looking for any reason to give it to anyone else at this point.
Not this guy again.
Him again.
Right. But it's funny, like when you hear that, and even speaking with them, Leanne and Tony, just to hear them say like, "Oh my God, everyone here loved it." Like it was just like miles above everything else. And there's still a part of me that's like, really? Wow. Like,
so cool.
And that's where I take ownership. We wrote it. We did our work. We sat down. We showed up. But also something else kind of like flowed through it. And I love leaving space for the mystery.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great. I love the people that, vote on this are like super respected songwriters and stuff like that.
Grammy
people like,
winning,
yeah,
Dove
it's like,
Award winning.
That was like really affirming for me, because, a lot of times, even if I'm feeling good about something, like that sort of thing, it sort of lets you sit back and listen to the song like a listener. Like after that, it's almost like I could sit back and just enjoy the song. I've got this affirmation versus sometimes you're like hyper focusing on everything.
Right.
And
You told me that. How once you read that email, you went back and turned the song on and listened to it and heard it in this brand new way. What was that?
For me, a lot of times it's like, and I've told this to, songwriting workshops that I've led. I always say, listen, just accept it as a ground rule that when you put something out, you're just not gonna be happy, but you'll always nitpick it and blah blah. And what I'm trying to explain at that point is obviously do your work, don't cut corners, but don't let perfection hold you back.
Yeah.
I tell this to people, and then it's hard for me to take it, right? I mean, my own lesson, I'm thinking all the time, oh, what if we did that? And so to know that like really like essentially good songwriters, that means a lot to me that they're songwriters. Really respect the songwriting. I can just let that be its thing,
Totally.
and not overthink the whole thing. So.
Yeah. And I think that's a healthy perspective. So, did we win anything?
Enough money to buy some LaCroix,
Nice.
Yeah. There's a couple of prizes. That's cool.
It is cool.
It was the right time for us to write a song like that too, because if I remember, we had done Choose Love, which was your first single of last year, and then that like left us in kind of a weird direction. Like we're not exactly sure, are we getting more anthemic, are we getting more rootsy, and that dragged us to like, it came to the place where we were writing that song, and it basically this whole scene and Topanga and everything just dragged us in this direction, right? Where we're going to do this, and we needed to get one of those under our belt, like a really good, like a songwriter song,
Yeah, because I think we value the craft of it, and so knowing, did I write a good song? It's like there's a part of us that is always asking that, and sort of gets the answer, but then never gets the answer, and I think maybe that's just staying balanced with it. That's maybe just keeping ourselves humble. Right? Instead of being like, I'm the greatest.
Totally.
Yeah.
You should do vinyl. Make people sit in a room and listen to it.
Right.
Instead of on the treadmill. Well, man, this is fun, man. It's good to get a moment to talk about this because we never
man.
do this, right? It's just go, go, go. You're on the treadmill, and
yeah,
and
but to
you're
take some
pushing
time
forward.
and celebrate, man.
Yeah, and to relive it is actually very cool, you know. Like
Right.
to actually think about, to get yourself back to that moment and think about how something like very spontaneous turned into, you know, one of the best things I've written in a while, man. So
Hell yeah, man. Congrats.
congrats, brother.
Yeah,
That's fun.
totally. Let's do it again.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, let's keep doing it.
Get that third win.
That's right.
Really piss them off.
Let's go.
You could be the river running through the canyon.